These are the latest edition of the Winspace Hyper wheels, released on July 1st. They've redesigned the rims, the spokes and the hubs. In this video we're gonna have a look on what has changed on these wheels compared to the old Hypers. What's up guys, what's up cycling fanatics? Welcome back to another video. Like I said, these are my brand new racing wheels. These are the Hyper D33, one out of 3 of the new models of the Winspace, or it's actually Lún Hypers. Lún is the sister or the daughter brand of Winspace, and the brand is actually Lún Hyper. So I have my old wheels, the old Hypers that I've been racing a lot, and these are the 50 millimeter model, and this is the 38 millimeter model because I have these wheels specifically for my climbing bike for Haute Route. This video is not a complete review. I've only had these wheels for like 2 weeks to build up my bike. I will do a full review once I've had the chance to ride these a lot more, but right now we're gonna go over the things that have changed compared to the old ones. I've got a document that have been sent to me with all the information. By the time this video is up, I'm sure you can find everything on their website. Let's start with the rim. They've gone from the 90 millimeter internal width on the old Hypers to a 21 millimeter internal width on the new Hypers. So that's a big change, I would say. It's gonna make the tire sit on the rim a lot more aerodynamic. The volume is going to be bigger and you can ride bigger tires with lower pressure without compromising the actual shape of the tire. Right now I've got 28 millimeter Vittoria Corsa controls on these wheels. I think they sit on it perfectly. I wanted to put on 25 millimeter actually because they're just a little bit lighter and I'm gonna race on the mountains, but 25 millimeter just wasn't available. So that's still with all the shortages in the current world right now. You got to do with the stuff that you can get. The rim options are also different from the previous Hypers. Previously they had the 35, the 50 and the 65 millimeter options. So from low depth to very deep section wheels. That has changed. The Hyper 33s, as you see here, are 35 millimeters high. Then there's the middle option, which is called the Hyper 45. These are actually have a different rim in the front and in the rear wheel. So they've optimized the shape of the rim, and they call this, I have to look it up, F-Rapid design. So the front and the rear rim have a optimized shape for the aerodynamics, and the rear is actually deeper than the front. So on the Hyper 45s, the front wheel is 46 millimeters deep and the rear wheel is actually 54 millimeters deep. So it's kind of, the average is about 50, which is the same as my Hyper 50, but on the old ones, the front and the rear were exactly the same. Now the front is lower and the rear is deeper. Then the really deep section wheels they have, they're called the Hyper 67. And the front is 60 millimeters and the rear is 68 millimeters. So that's gonna be a really deep wheel, probably just for the flats. It's still the same filament wound rim, so that technique hasn't changed. You can also see the same pattern as in the old Hypers. You can see it in the new Hypers, so that's the same. I think it actually looks really cool. One thing that has changed is the stickers. I really like these black stickers, because I had like one of the early releases, because I'm friends with Winspace and they sent me these wheels to get my bike ready. I have the white stickers, but they actually come in different colors, so that's pretty cool. The second thing that has changed on these wheels are the spokes. The spokes are still the same carbon spokes with the specific nipple construction that they have as the old ones, but the nipple at the hub has changed, where at the old Hypers the nipples were round. This gave some issues to some people. I've had the same issue a little bit where spokes were twisting, and when you have a flat spoke and it twists into the wind, it goes from very aerodynamic to not being aerodynamic at all, so you don't want that. The new Hypers have a T-shaped head on the hub side, which actually locks the nipple in, and it locks the spoke in the same direction. Is this gonna prevent the turning of the spokes completely? I don't know, because in theory they can still turn a little bit at the rim side and not twist at the hub, so they would be like twisted differently, but I think it's gonna solve most of the issues, so that's a very good improvement. The third thing that has changed is the hubs. Where on the previous wheels the spokes were crossing but also touching each other because they were going around each other towards the rim, they've now laced the spokes in a different way where they actually go side by side but they don't touch. Some people had creaking noises coming from their spokes, and it was because of the spokes were moving against each other. I never had this issue. These wheels, they have crossing spokes and they touch. If you do this, you can hear the noise, but I never had that while I was riding. It's debatable if you actually want them to cross or not, because asking a very high level wheel builder, he says, well, I actually want them to cross because they're going to help each other and going to give more stability.
I don't think on the other wheels it was a real issue. Otherwise you would have seen problems. But yeah, it's different now. Me, personally, I'd like spokes to cross because they help each other.
Cross and touch, you mean? Or
yeah, cross and touch.
Also with carbon spokes?
Why not?
Because they might damage by moving against each other, or?
They hardly do.
Yeah.
Steel spokes are a problem. I don't know if that would be a problem with a carbon spoke.
So I don't know. If it's an improvement or not, well, it will make sure you don't get the noises anymore. It does look a little bit different. I've seen more wheels where they have spokes that don't touch, so it's not new in the market. There's more brands that work with this system. So the internal body of the hub of these wheels is the same as the current Hypers. My Hypers, my hubs are very old. This is one of the very early Hyper models, and they still have the red hub body. I've talked about this already when I had them checked by a professional, and we discussed the hubs and the internals of these older versions and the current Hyper versions. There is one big change that you're not gonna notice without having these wheels side by side. Let me show you the new and the older model side by side. The lacing of the spokes is actually different, and it's difficult to see. Well, this one already has the rotor on it, so it's harder to see. But I'll show you a picture on the video. What they've done is they changed the angle of how the spokes are laced in the wheel and how they cross. And this has influence on how they perform, how they feel. If I want to notice this, I would have to ride both wheels side by side, swap wheels multiple times to be able to notice the difference. Thing is, if you make your angle of your spokes more straight from hub to the wheel, it's gonna give more lateral stiffness. If you turn your spokes more in the direction of travel, then they're gonna give more stiffness in the rotational direction. So there's no perfect lacing, and multiple factors all play in when you feel a wheel, when you ride a wheel, how the performance is. Winspace tested with a lot of riders, different lacings, different setups, and they went with a change in their spoke angle from 38 degrees to 48.5 degrees. These numbers don't matter, but the change is that the spokes are crossing at a bigger angle. I'm gonna find out if I feel any difference. I'm gonna use this in my bike to race Haute Route next week, and after I've done plenty of kilometers on these wheels, I'm gonna give you guys a proper review. If you have any questions on the Winspace wheels, post a comment down below. If you want to buy them, I do have a 10% discount. Just use the code that's in the screen right now. You can find it in the description, and you get a discount towards these Hyper wheels, their handlebars, their frames, everything from Winspace. Go check it out. Gonna see you next time. See ya!